Howdy cowboys and cowgirls, Ultra Cowboy here, and on today's video we are going to be discussing the top 10 things that you need for your next ultra marathon. Let's go.
I will be the last to fall.
All right, so we're going to cover the top 10 items that I recommend that you have for your next ultra marathon or just for a long trail run. And go ahead and put in the comments below, what are your favorite items or key items that you found to be most useful for your trail runs? So, number one, a pack. You have to have some sort of way to pack your gear, whether that is a waist pack, a vest, a backpack, whatever it is, you need some way to store all of the equipment that you're going to need for your ultramarathon or trail run. And this is going to be largely dependent on how far a distance or how long you're planning on being gone for. If it's only a 50K that's, fairly flat and on the roads, you may need minimal gear and minimal fluids in between aid stations. And so you really don't need a lot. You may be able to get away with just, handheld water bottles that have maybe a couple pockets to put your keys, your phone, a little bit of nutrition, things like that. For me, I always practice with and use, this is my Norvin 14 running vest, and it works great. I can put soft flasks in the front for really long runs, or in the I Am Tough, there were some aid stations that were like 12 miles apart in the mountains. So, it'd take like 3 to 4 hours to get between aid stations. And so it also has a spot in here for a bladder. Solomon, there are lots of other companies that make, running vests like this of varying storage capacities. But this is my go-to. It's super lightweight. It has some other features we'll talk about in a little bit that I like, but a lot of these packs will also have other things like emergency whistles, places for, emergency items like a space blanket and things like that. But you have to have some way to pack your gear around. And then going on to number two, fluids. And you'll notice that in the order that I'm putting these is the order of things that you would need to be safe. But you really need to have access to water. One of the first things that will kill you if you do happen to get lost or something really bad happens, or even just if you're not taking care of yourself, is if you get behind on your hydration. You need a way to carry your water. If you put electrolytes in your fluids, if you have your nutrition as part of your fluid management, you have to have a way to get water to keep you safe and to keep you healthy for your run. Going on to number three, I would recommend that you carry a phone. And almost everyone has some sort of phone. Most people have smartphones, but you need some way to be able to communicate. If something is, were to happen to you, for a lot of races, there are probably going to be some runners, people around that can get you some help. But if not, especially if you're in a remote place or you're on a long training run, you want to be able to get a hold of somebody. The other thing is, with a lot of smartphones, there are maps, there are ways to put in the course map to make sure that you're not lost, or if you are lost, to find a way to get back to the trail. You can put your music on there. A phone is just so handy to have for so many situations. It's really a no-brainer. All of you probably already running with phones, but I would always recommend that even if it weighs a bit, to sacrifice that weight to keep something with you in hand at all times, to be able to communicate, and then just everything else that they can do is super powerful. Number four, you need a way to keep yourself warm and protected from the elements. Even in the middle of summer in Colorado, I always keep a rain jacket with me. This is a super light rain jacket by Arc'teryx. I can't remember what it weighs, but it is like maybe a couple of ounces at the most. It is extremely light. It has its own little carrying container, but it folds down to practically nothing. Doesn't take up a lot of space in the pack. This was the only thing that I used during the I'm Tough in Idaho. It dropped down during our mountain race down to below 40 degrees. It was almost literally freezing cold at night. And during the day it was in the 80s, so it's super hot during the day, get real wet, sweaty, and then it got really cold at night. So all I did was wear this, from 3 to 6 o'clock in the morning when it was the most cold. And this kept me warm with moving, having this really light jacket on. It was extremely nice to have. I would always recommend keeping this, even if you're never going to use it. It weighs almost nothing. All right, so take a quick break. If you are finding value in the content that you're watching today, go ahead and click the like and subscribe button below. And if you click the little notification bell, that'll let you know anytime we've got any new content coming out. On to number five. So, space blanket. So this goes kind of with the jacket. You want to have some way to keep you warm. If you're not going to pack a jacket for whatever reason, I would at least have a space blanket. If you're not able to move, you're not able to, kind of get the core up by, muscle movement, by burning energy that way, space blanket is great. You can cover up. You can use it as a mini shelter. A lot of these are reflective. And so during the day, you may be able to use that to try and signal people if they're colorful. Again, just one more thing to keep you safe. Number 6, a headlamp. You need some way to be able to see if there's any chance you might be out at night. If you're running out in the evening, or again, if there's a chance you're out by yourself, you might get lost, potentially injured, might have to stay overnight, having a way to signal people to light your way down the trail. Just something really small, minimalist. This is Petzl. The entire headlamp fits into here. It doesn't have a lot of lumens, but it does work great in a pinch. I've used it before. My main headlamp's gone out. I've whipped this bad boy out, and here it is. This is literally all it is. Tiny little Petzl. Great. Runs on batteries. There's some that are USB charged, but always have some extra source of light to let you see the trail and also help people see you. Number 7, nutrition. Now this is way down on the list because you can go days without eating, without dying, possibly even weeks if you really conserve your energy. So it's not really necessary to keep you safe, but it's to allow you to have the energy. For one, if you bonk during your race, the aid station's a ways out. You've got your little goo, got to cut, 100, maybe 200 calories, get something to get the legs moving. Also if you are lost or, overnight, having a little extra energy to help you get off the trail once daylight hits, you might be able to find your way back. So I would always keep at least something on me with a little bit of calories. Number 8, first aid kit. And the one that I keep with me is very minimal. I literally have 2 things: safety pins and a couple Band-Aids. If you get a giant gash, this obviously isn't going to stop the bleeding and keep you from bleeding to death. But what are you most likely to have go wrong with you during your race or when you're out? Blisters, right? And so if you get a hot spot, as long as you've got a Band-Aid, you've got a way to cover that up, keep it from, creating friction and rubbing. That's what causes blisters in the first place. You get some source of friction. This puts the friction on the Band-Aid and not on your foot. You can do moleskin, whatever you want. If you do go beyond a hot spot and actually form a blister, you can use safety pins. Take one of the ones from an old race, put it in your pack. They weigh nothing. If you get a blister, you can tunnel from healthy skin underneath the tissue into the blister to allow the fluid to drain out without poking a hole and possibly ripping the blister open and completely exposing the skin, right? It may have to come off later, but when you've got a nasty, sweaty sock with dirt and bacteria and everything in there, you don't want that tissue underneath being exposed. So you can pop the blister safely, get the fluid out, put a Band-Aid on it, good to go. Number 9. And this item is amazing. It can keep your head warm, your ears warm. It can protect you from the sun. It can help you hold ice to cool off, get wet to cool off. You can use it as a tourniquet. You can use it as a way to signal people. Maybe asking, Ultra Cowboy, what the heck is this amazing thing you're talking about? It is a neck gaiter, or some people know them as buffs. Buff is a brand, but neck gaiter is kind of the generic term for these things. But they are awesome to have, right? You can keep yourself warm when it's cold. You can put it up over your face and cover up almost everything to keep you protected from the sun. And I did this when I ran the Javelina 100. I have a special white one that's reflective to help keep me protected from the heat. You can tuck underneath here and pack it with ice to keep your neck, keep your neck and the major vessels going to the head cool, to cool the blood returning back into your core. As the ice and the water melt, I guess water doesn't melt, but as ice melts into water, you've got the cool water running to cool your core down. You can use it in a pinch if you forgot gloves or don't carry gloves with you. You can keep your hands warm. If you do get a bad cut that the Band-Aid's not going to fix, if you're going to bleed to death, better to stick a pole or a stick, something in here, twist this, get it tight, and you've got a tourniquet to apply pressure to the cut to keep it from bleeding, or just to get it wet, clean something off to try and keep it, if you're covered with dirt and you got a nasty cut, to wipe it off to try and get as much off of there as possible to keep it from getting infected until you can get to an aid station. There's really not a reason to not have a neck gaiter on you. And now with COVID-19 going on, you've got a face covering. Most places require some sort of face covering to be out in public or areas where you might come into contact with other people. That's your boy right there. And finally, on to number 10, and it is having a safety whistle. So going back to my pack that I carry, all of my packs that I have a safety whistle on them. They're really light, they're really small, but these things are freaking loud. right? If you get lost, people can find you between your light, between your colorful neck gaiter that you've got, between your, maybe if you've got a colorful or reflective space blanket, between your whistle. If something happens, people are going to be able to find you out multiple ways for them to be able to do so. So always have a little safety whistle with you. So those are my top 10 items. Again, put in the comments below, what are the items that you have for your trail races, your trail runs, your ultra marathons that you use to keep you safe or to keep you happy and running? Thanks for watching this video. Hope you got, a lot of useful information out of it. Again, like and subscribe if you find this content useful. Hit the notification if you want to be notified when the latest episodes come out. Take care, be safe, and cowboy up.